you.
Can't they invest in like a better quality sound that says it's being recorded? Or I guess they're making it sound as robotic as it can to know that it's actually happening. I don't know. So we've got some cameos here. We'll see how this goes.
So, happy 2022.
We've done a show in 2022 already.
Technicality. I can still wish you a happy 2022.
No. The Larry David rule of the Larry David rule is after January 7th, you can no longer wish someone a happy new year.
I wish you a horrible new year.
Thanks.
So,
on that note, we are back with our second episode. You know, if we do one per month, I think that might be a good standard to aim for here. But this is the second show, second month, and the room is being overrun by children. But that's what happens here because there's no rules. We don't do anything. We don't follow any instructions. Kate preps for 5 seconds if she even reads the show notes at all.
I only read them if you tell me they exist.
You should know that I send you show notes by now. This is like episode 708 by now.
Yeah, unfortunately, you made them not editable, so I don't have as much fun.
Yeah, well, we're not going to get into that again because we repeat that same story every time. So our guest today is the host of the Women's Sports Matter podcast. Please welcome Gianna Belcastro. Gianna, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, you're going to have to go off screen. Too distracting. You've had an eventful last couple of months with your podcast. You know, you were in I think it was Kansas City recently on a podcast row. You had the courage of getting in front of a live audience at a convention and doing a live show.
Very true.
Kay, would you do a live show at this point?
No.
We've been talking about doing a live show in front of an audience since 2017, and we like almost did it, and we even called and like talked to a venue, and then it just never happened.
See, right now I have the benefit of having the notes on the side of the screen. If we were to do a live show, I wouldn't be able to fake reading the notes as well.
That's why you have the laptop in front of you. You won't have the camera screen. You can read the notes off your screen. That's what they do.
Oh. Didn't think about that.
On that note, sorry, Gianna. Again, we've gone off topic before question 1, which might be a new record. Why did you start your podcast?
Do you want the short answer or the long answer?
You can take as much time as you want. We call it 10 minutes but we have had exactly 2 shows around the 10-minute mark out of, 50 now or something like
that. The short answer is I was bored. So it was the beginning. Here's the long answer. It was the beginning of the pandemic, April 2020. That was like the first full month that I had off of school. I was a senior in high school and I got bored. I was tired of watching these shows on Netflix all day and, not doing anything I deem productive. So I decided to make a podcast about women's sports. And originally I was talking about, the NWSL and the WNBA. And then, it's grown more based off of, all the content that I'm making now about hockey, which is a sport I didn't even like until last year, and softball, also a sport that I didn't like until last year, learning more about different players and teams, picking a team to root for. I just love women's sports so much. And I noticed that it was hard to find coverage. And once I started making episodes and following different accounts on Twitter, I'm like, it shouldn't be this hard to find coverage about women's sports. So I learned that as well when I started this, but the whole reason why is because I'm a huge fan of women's sports, wanted to make a show based off that. Here I am now.
And I mean, you've interacted with some pretty high profile people. You have several mutual friends, including, Thomas Costello of Bryant and Me. He's a friend of our show as well. So, I mean, you've really gotten the message out there. I've noticed, like, you've been sharing on social media that you've got professional teams following you on social media now. I mean,
That's wacky.
you've been, you're another one of the, I'm not trying to dismiss that, but there's so many pandemic podcasts that have surfaced in there, and 7 out of 10 of them have failed already, or they've given up and gone on to other things. But you've kept yours going, and now you have professional teams following you. I mean, what does that feel like?
It's so weird because, like, I'll go into my little fangirling moment is what I'm gonna call it, because, like, when what was the first one? Toronto 6, when they followed me, they were just starting out, and I was new to the PHF at that point too, so I was like new fan, rooting for the new team. So I kind of started interacting with them a little bit earlier on, tweeted about how they didn't have verification and they really should have. That got a lot of interactions. They followed me a little bit after that. More recently with OL Reign following me, I was like, what in the world? Like an NWSL team following me. It was wacky. I was like, oh my God, a team, like a professional women's sports team is following me. Like the amount of people that follow my Instagram and Twitter, like just some of the big names, is like, they probably have no idea what it means to me. The fact that they're following what I'm doing, it's just, I don't even know. It's like, I can't even describe it. I can't even put it into words. It's just so cool. Yeah.
Do you think you've had your I've done it, I'm successful moment, or do you think that's still to come? And what would it be?
I mean, I feel pretty good about the past season that I had. Season 3, 41 episodes. That's more than season 1 and 2 combined. The amount of different, like, awesome people that I've had on my show. Like the last interview that I did in season 3 was pretty awesome. I had Erin McLeod on, who is, this awesome Canadian and NWSL goalie who does a lot of great work outside of soccer as well. So to be able to talk to her was just like, what a way to end season 3. I don't know if I can top season 3. I mean, I hope I can, but I'm hoping that every time I do another season or do something else with Women's Sports Matter, I can top what I'm already doing. I don't know if I've had my moment yet. Every time I think I have my moment, something else happens. So we'll see.
So
Kate, do you have any professional teams following you?
Me?
Yes.
I don't know. I barely check my social media.
I have one professional franchise following my personal account. And oddly enough, it's the Indiana Pacers. And this was going back to, like, I'm showing my age again. This is going back to like the early days of Twitter, and nobody really knew what to do. And so, like, professional sports franchises were starting to find their way into Twitter. And I followed the Pacers because I lived in Indiana at the time. And they just followed me back one day, and they have 1 million plus followers on Twitter now, and they follow 2,300 people.
No reason at all. Don't you feel special?
No reason at all. Yes, as I have a Phoenix Suns pennant in the background. I'm wearing a Phoenix Mercury, outside of the Purdue banner and the, I guess the Indianapolis Motor Speedway one, but I've, like, any association with the state of Indiana is, like, long gone. But that's a story for another.
Yeah, they don't claim you either, so you're good.
I'm okay with that.
So you've talked to some really awesome people. You're doing some awesome stuff. Let's say one of our listeners wants to come over and start listening to you. What should they expect in an episode?
I want to start doing more interviews. So I feel like when I first started out, I was doing just a lot of me talking. And then my first ever interview, like, Dave reached out to me and I was like, what, you want to be on my show? Like, that's wacky. Like, I can't believe that. And it was like I was going to say my first month of doing it, that happened. I was like, wow, early recognition, I see. So I kind of want to move away from just me talking, because I want people to learn more about women's sports from, like, a player's perspective or someone that works in the field. So definitely more interviews than just me talking, and just learning more about sports that you don't necessarily know about. So, for example, I went to opening day of Athletes Unlimited softball in August. I took my two little cousins. They both play softball. They're like, oh, I don't remember their age. One of them is in middle school, the other one's in elementary school. And I thought, that they wouldn't pay attention during the game. Even their mom was like, after a while, they're probably gonna get tired. They paid attention to both games. There were two games. It was opening day, their first ever opening day for softball because of the pandemic last year. So first time they had fans in the seats watching their games. We got to meet the players afterwards, like an autograph line and everything. Made a whole episode about that. Even got some players to say a few words about, what it's like to play in the league, and put that in the episode, as well as my cousin's reactions to everything. So I like making those kinds of episodes as well. Just learning more, honestly, and interviews.
Autograph lines are only second to conga lines. So
I don't know. I'd probably put autograph lines ahead of conga lines, but that's just me.
And I really took one major thing out of this, what you were just saying, and it was you want to talk less. And DJ really needs to take a note on that. And he's like, really, Kate? This is what we're doing? I may have had a Mountain Dew right before this episode.
Oh, okay. Yes, caffeine is like alcohol to her.
Yeah, we tore out our downstairs bathroom yesterday. So I need to go to Lowe's and stuff right after this.
What does that have to do with taking Mountain Dew before the show today? That was a very random turn.
I'm staying up late.
Okay, well, I'm going to be the one to turn it back into, back on track here again. So, you've gone into and you've interviewed, you're profiling people that are not getting the attention that that they deserve, arguably, but you've also hit some pretty dark topics on your show as well, and you've talked about being a woman or a non-binary person involved in sports, and went pretty deep with that topic. What's it's unfortunate because it's happening out there. We may not see it firsthand, and we have scandals within the NWSLs. Another example that I know you've talked about and are pretty passionate about. I believe, wasn't it were you blocked by
I got blocked by Merritt Paulson.
That's who it was. Yeah, you were blocked by the we'll call him investor operator. Thanks, Anthony Precourt,
owner
of both the Portland Thorns and the Portland Timbers.
Yeah.
But it's what is your you're getting that message out there, which this stuff, I guess, in the inner circles, was people knew this was going on for years, but the general public, the average person, didn't know about. So what how do you I guess the best way of putting it is what's your goal, what's your mission for not only getting the good news out and the good profiling, but getting that toxic thing that's gone under the rug for so long out into the open.
We don't talk about stuff, and I feel like, especially nowadays, no one wants to talk about anything. And so what I from personal experience and just from reading a bunch of stuff online, I am very passionate about talking about the abuse that is going on in the NWSL right now. With all that Eclipse stuff and the Red Stars, that hits very close to home. I know a bunch of people that went through Eclipse Soccer Club and Rory Dames, mutual friends, even some of my coworkers and their siblings have gone through that. So it's just whoa, that hits way too close to home with me. So when stuff gets local like that, I care a little bit too much, I think. Sometimes it's I should put my phone down, but nope, there's another article about another coach or something like that. I am very new to the soccer community. This is my second year picking a team and rooting for something. And once I see all this stuff happening, I'm it's time to actually pay more attention to what's going on, and to tell people that, number one, their abuse matters and that we should be talking about this and get all the bad people out. So I care too much.
They have, they have no business being involved. Like, they say that, sorry, I didn't want to, this is a serious moment. I didn't want to ruin the moment here, but my dog behind me decided it was time to lick his we'll say underbelly area. Blocking. Anyway, it's really sad and frustrating. I'm just glad that there's a platform now that this is being brought to light. There's reporters in Athletic, and I'm sure you're familiar with Sandra Herrera. Yeah. So Sandra is actually dating a friend of mine. So I don't know Sandra personally, but I have that. I hear some things from time to time, and it's good that there's eyes on this now, and there wasn't for a long time, and it's so frustrating to hear firsthand these stories, but it's like at least they're coming out. Kate, was that the darkest moment we've had on this show?
I think so.
I think so. But I mean, it's good. I mean, it needs to get out there. I mean, usually we're very lighthearted here, but I mean, it needs to be talked about.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Kate, you want to drag it on to part 3 here?
Yeah, so let's move to our typical third question. Really hard to transition, so we'll just...
I don't know how you top that, but go for it.
What would be a piece of advice that you would give a rookie podcaster?
I've been thinking about this for a while. And honestly, like when I go back to when I was starting out, I wish I knew people that were in this community. And obviously that's not really going to happen unless you are actively online all the time. And I really wasn't. So just reaching out to other platforms that are similar to yours. So I think for me, I'm friends now with someone that runs the More Than Just Balls account on both Instagram and Twitter. I had her on my show, Kaylin Bushhorn, phenomenal person. Just like making friends and like reaching out, hey, do you want to come on my show? I'll go on your show type thing. Networking is a big thing these days. So definitely networking, just right away following these accounts. There's a lot of newer accounts that follow my Instagram or Twitter. I'll follow them back and shoot them a message or like their content or interact with their stuff, just so there's already that kind of interaction set down, because I wish I had that when I started. So doing that for other people is helpful.
For sure. I mean, there's so many people that when they get involved in blogging or podcasting, that it's just, they think that, I'm going to hit record, I'm going to edit, I'm going to throw it out there and I'm done. It's like, no, you got to get out there. You got to get in the trenches. You got to network. Otherwise, nobody's going to listen. And that's, and that's why people get frustrated and they give up after 10 episodes, because they think, somebody should have listened by now. And
yeah, I was frustrated awesome. A lot.
I mean, it's at least you realized it before you gave up on the project, and I think everyone's better for it.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really active on Twitter a lot, and I had a Twitter set up for my podcast when I first started it, and I would just post when there was an episode each time, and I'm like, this isn't really working. So what do I do? And I only had a Twitter. I didn't start an Instagram until a little bit later. I think until season 2. I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to interact more with like sports teams, sports journalists, whatever. I am going to post polls and, post reminders of like, in case you missed it, I had this episode up on Tuesday, and then post something else along that. So I wasn't a big social media person before. I spend a little bit too much time on social media now because I'm constantly, interacting and retweeting and all that. But that is a super important part of, if you want to start something, you gotta do all this other stuff too. So keeping up with that.
That's great advice. Mm-hmm. So speaking of your social media, what's your handles?
So for Facebook and Twitter, it's the same handle. It's at WSM Podcasts. And on Instagram, you can find me on it's Women's Sports Matter. I have a YouTube channel, Women's Sports Matter Podcast. I also just started a newsletter, but that's it. All this stuff is in my link tree and my bios on social media. So
There you go.
it's all together in one
Awesome.
place.
And then is there a preference on where to find your podcast?
It's on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, basically anywhere except Anchor, because I switched. What is it called? Whatever.
Hosts. Yep.
Yeah, I'm on Red Circle now instead of Anchor, so
Red Circle.
everywhere except Anchor.
I'm not
Okay.
actually. We're still on Anchor. Yeah, it's there's some nice things about it, but I'm not familiar with that one. I'll have to check that out.
It's a nice. I think it's a little bit nicer than Anchor. There's a little more like stats available and all that. It's like easy to read, user friendly. So I switched over to Red Circle. I want to say in the beginning of season 3, and it's nice. I like it.
And I mean, with Anchor, because of the ownership with Spotify, they skew everything and try to push you more towards pushing to Spotify. And it's like, I understand you're pushing your product, but there's more than just Spotify.
Yeah.
Plus, Spotify's been in the news a lot lately. But we'll leave that there.
So, DJ, where can we find us?
In your mind, Kate. In your mind. Hey, can you turn sideways? I want to see, like, if you look in one ear, can you see all the way through to the other side? Yes, I got one middle finger in there. See, and then when you insulted me, I was like, should I give her the finger? No, I don't want to have to blur that out. So.
It's because I'm so sweet and innocent.
Sure. I'd actually, on our live stream when I ran the other night, my brother swore on the live stream, like, thanks a lot. I'm going to go edit and bleep him out. My mom and grandma were watching.
Wow, your mom and grandma watch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
My mom won't even listen to our podcast.
Yeah, my mom won't do that. My dad will. Yeah, my mom will watch my mom and grandma. I'm like, you can put the YouTube video up on your TV screen. It's not that complicated, Mom. And they're like, no, we're fine gathering around we're watching on the tiny phone. I'm like, okay. Anyway, at Stadium Scene on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, at Stadium_Scene on Instagram. Did I get everything? Did I forget something?
Yeah.
I got it?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
Join the network.
Join the network. Network with people, interact.
Whoa.
Great advice.
Was that the message of this? Just kidding.
It was the message of this. So, Gianna, thanks again for joining us. It was very, very wonderful discussion and, continued success with your show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. We're going to wrap it up. Kate, you want to give any final thoughts before I hit stop?
No, I'm good today. Have a fantastic day.
Very nice. Thank you for that, Kate. So we'll see you next time, whenever that may be.